Imagine a damp, shadowy dungeon beneath the Tower of London, where the air reeks of rusting iron and unspoken agony. It's June 1546, and a 25-year-old woman named Anne Askew lies strapped to a wooden frame known as the rack, a device engineered for pure torment. Her slight frame trembles not from fear, but from the strain as ropes tighten around her wrists and ankles. The Lord Chancellor of England, Thomas Wriothesley, a man of velvet robes and royal favor, rolls up his sleeves. With his own hands, he turns the wheels, pulling her body apart joint by joint. Cracks echo like breaking branches, shoulders dislocating, ligaments tearing. And faints, revives, and still refuses to scream or betray her friends. This isn't fiction, it's the horrific prelude to her burning at the stake. What drove powerful men to personally torture a gentlewoman for her beliefs about bread and wine? Why did Anne's silence become a shield that might have saved a queen? Her story exposes the brutal underbelly of Tudor England, where faith clashed with politics in blood and fire. If you think Henry VIII's wives had it bad, wait until you hear what happened to Anne Askew before the flames claimed her. This tale of courage amid cruelty will haunt you. Subscribe now to uncover the full nightmare, and let's dive into the shadows of history. Anne Askew was born in 1521 into the rolling green hills of Lincolnshire, England, to a life that seemed destined for quiet comfort. Her father, Sir William Askew, was a knighted landowner, honored by King Henry VIII himself, serving as High Sheriff and Member of Parliament. The family estate buzzed with servants, warm hearths, and the scent of fresh-baked bread from the kitchens. Anne's mother, Elizabeth Wriothesley, came from similar gentry stock, ensuring a household of prosperity and connections. Young and grew up alongside brothers who attended Cambridge University, returning home with revolutionary ideas from the Renaissance, ideas about reading the Bible in English, questioning Catholic doctrines, and interpreting scripture personally. While her brothers debated theology at the dinner table and listened intently, her sharp mind absorbing every word. But in Tudor England, girls weren't meant for such pursuits. Education for women focused on needlework, household management, and pleasing future husbands. Yet Anne defied this. She devoured books in her father's library, memorizing Bible passages and developing her own views. Her rejection of transubstantiation, the Catholic belief that communion bread and wine literally became Christ's body and blood, would later seal her fate. She saw them as symbols, not miracles, a heretical stance punishable by death. At 15, tragedy struck. Her older sister Martha died before marrying Thomas Kyme, a wealthy Catholic landowner. Sir William substituted Anne, treating daughters like interchangeable assets. This forced marriage to a man with opposing beliefs planted the seeds of Anne's rebellion, setting her on a path from privileged daughter to defiant reformer. Anne's marriage to Thomas Kyme was a disaster from the start. At just 15, she was thrust into a union with a conservative Catholic who expected obedience and silence on religious matters. Anne, however, refused to conform. She kept her maiden name, signing documents as Anne Askew in a bold act of identity preservation rare for Tudor wives. Their home in Lincolnshire became a battleground of beliefs. While Kyme attended Mass and upheld Catholic rituals, and questioned them openly, arguing scripture with local priests who were stunned by her knowledge. She bore 2 children, names lost to history, but parenthood couldn't bridge their divide. And began gospeling, traveling to Lincoln to preach Protestant ideas in public spaces, debating transubstantiation and advocating Bible access for all. This embarrassed Kyme, scandalizing his conservative community. Advised by priests, he threw her out around 1544, when she was 23. Tudor law offered no recourse, women couldn't own property or divorce easily. Anne petitioned for separation but was ordered back to her husband. She refused, borrowing money from her brother Sir Francis Askew and heading to London. There, near the legal Inns of Court, she lived independently, a radical choice for a woman without status or income. She hired a maidservant, sought legal aid for divorce, and dove deeper into Protestant circles, distributing reformist literature and preaching aloud. Her fearlessness earned her the nickname, the Fair Gospeller. But in a city teeming with spies and religious enforcers, her actions drew dangerous attention, pulling her into the web of court politics. By 1545, Anne's outspoken Protestantism caught the eye of authorities enforcing the Six Articles Act of 1539, which mandated Catholic doctrines like transubstantiation. Arrested in March, she faced Bishop Edmund Bonner in London for 12 grueling days of interrogation. Bonner's chamber was a fortress of intimidation, with scribes recording every word. They demanded she affirm the bread as Christ's literal body, and responded with wit and scripture: if it were truly flesh, it wouldn't mold like ordinary bread. Her calm demeanor unnerved them. She quoted Bible verses more accurately than her inquisitors, turning questions back on them. When asked why she spoke so little, she replied, "God gave me knowledge but not utterance, and Solomon says a woman of few words is a gift." This humility masked devastating logic, frustrating men accustomed to breaking prisoners. Released on bail posted by her cousin, Anne was sent back to Lincolnshire with orders to reconcile with Kyme. She ignored them, staying with her brother and continuing her preaching. This first brush with the law was a warning, but Anne's convictions only strengthened. Meanwhile, at court, religious factions warred. King Henry VIII, aging and paranoid, swung between Protestant reforms and Catholic orthodoxy. Conservatives like Bishop Stephen Gardiner plotted to purge reformers, eyeing Queen Catherine Parr's evangelical household. Anne's connections to Parr's ladies, through shared Protestant sympathies, made her a target. Her release was temporary, the net was closing, and her next arrest would unleash the full horror of Tudor justice. In early 1546, England's religious landscape turned treacherous. Henry VIII, 54 and ailing from a festering leg ulcer, grew paranoid, influenced by conservatives like Gardiner and Lord Chancellor Thomas Wriothesley Slay. They aimed to dismantle Protestant influences, targeting Queen Catherine Parr's circle of reformist ladies, including Catherine Willoughby and Anne Parr. Minor Protestants were arrested to extract names linking to the Queen. Anne, with her court connections and known heresy, was ideal prey. In June, she and Kyme were summoned to Greenwich before the Privy Council. Anne refused to recognize Kyme as her husband, defying the powerful assembly including Gardiner, Wriothesley, and Sir William Paget. They grilled her on beliefs and demanded names of fellow Protestants, especially those near Parr. And stonewalled, "I know no one of my sect, the king has been deceived." Deemed of a naughty opinion, she was sent to Newgate Prison, a hellhole of filth, disease, and overcrowding. There, she fell gravely ill from the squalid conditions, damp cells, meager food, and constant guard abuse. Weakened but unbroken, she was transferred to the Tower of London, signaling her elevation to political prisoner. The Tower wasn't for common criminals, it housed threats to the realm. Orders came from Wriothesley: extract names by any means, including torture. The conservatives needed Anne's testimony to prove Parr's household harbored heretics, potentially toppling the Queen. As Anne languished in her cell, deprived and mistreated, the stage was set for the rack, the instrument that would test her limits. Transferred to the Tower's depths, and faced deliberate cruelty to erode her resistance. Her cell was cold and bare, food sparse, visits denied. Guards, knowing her fate, treated her with casual brutality, rough handling that compounded her illness. By late June, she was emaciated, her body primed for breaking. Sir Anthony Kingston, Tower Constable, received orders from Wriothesley: rack her until she named Parr's ladies. Torture required royal warrant, but ambition blurred legality. Women of gentle birth weren't typically racked, yet Anne's case was political. The dungeon smelled of damp stone and old blood, the rack a massive wooden frame with rollers and ropes. And, in a simple linen shift, barefoot on cold stone, faced it calmly. "I am not afraid," she said. "The Lord is my strength." Strapped down, ropes secured, she was asked once more for names. Silence. Kingston signaled, wheels turned. At first, tautness lifted her body. Then agony, shoulders dislocating with wet cracks, elbows following. Pain overwhelmed her nervous system, she fainted. Revived, the torment resumed. Modern medicine explains it as distraction injuries, ligaments tearing, tendons snapping, nerves compressing. Each turn amplified suffering beyond design. Witnesses heard pops and tears, worse than screams. and endured without crying out, her faith a fortress. But Kingston, a seasoned torturer, halted it. He'd seen enough, her body was wrecked. He refused riotously's command to continue, risking his career. What followed was unprecedented horror, as the powerful took matters into their own hands. Furious at Kingston's refusal, riotously threatened royal retribution. Kingston left for court to confess to Henry and seek pardon, which he received. But the torture didn't end. Riotously, assisted by Richard Rich, a perjurer infamous for dooming Thomas More, approached the rack. These high officials, not executioners, turned the wheels themselves. And, already partially dislocated, faced renewed hell. They pulled further, hips and knees separating, spine stretching. Screams echoed to the garden above, disturbing Kingston's family. And wrote later, "Because I lay still and did not cry, my Lord Chancellor and Master Rich took pains to rack me with their own hands till I was nigh dead." Nigh dead, tortured to death's edge by England's top lawyer. Exhausted, they stopped, laying her on the stone floor. In a bizarre twist, riotously sat beside her broken form for 2 hours, debating theology with flattering words. And, in agony, argued back, defending her faith. Her joints destroyed, shoulders dangling uselessly, legs immobile, she was carried away in a chair. This personal savagery exposed the conservatives' desperation. Anne's silence denied them evidence against Parr, stalling the plot. The Queen, warned, submitted to Henry and survived. Anne's ordeal saved others but doomed her. Nursed in a private house just enough to face execution, she penned her accounts, smuggled out to document the atrocity. Her writings, published by John Bale, became Reformation weapons, condemning her torturers. Post-rack, Anne's body was a ruin, multiple dislocations, torn tissues, nerve damage. In modern terms, she'd need surgeries and rehab. In 1546, nothing. Moved to a private house for recovery, it was mere delay, ensuring she lived for public burning. From her bed, arms barely movable, she wrote detailed examinations of her trials, smuggled to sympathizers. These autobiographical texts, rare for a Tudor woman, detailed interrogations and torture with precision, turning victim into chronicler. Offered recantation for life, she refused. Execution loomed July 16, 1546, at Smithfield with 3 male heretics, John Lascelles, John Adams, Nicholas Bolenian. Anne's refusal under torture was legendary. Psychology notes most break under such pain, executive functions failing. She attributed strength to God, her silence protective, shielding Parr's circle. As date neared, she prepared spiritually, her mind unbroken despite physical devastation. The conservatives' plot fizzled without her testimony. Parr outlived Henry. Anne's story, via Bale and later John Fox's Book of Martyrs, inspired Protestants, vilifying riotously and Rich. Riotously lost office in 1547, Rich survived but as a traitor symbol. Kingston's halt showed obedience limits. Anne's endurance questioned state violence. When does authority become tyranny? Her horrific prelude, marriage betrayal, arrests, rack culminated in fire, but her legacy endured. July 16 dawned overcast, crowds packing Smithfield for the spectacle. Officials like riotously watched from a platform. The men walked to stakes, chained amid kindling. Then Anne arrived, carried in a chair, legs useless from rack damage. Her arms hung unnaturally, face etched with pain from every jolt. The crowd hushed, some weeping at the sight. Unable to stand, she sat on a perch at the stake, bound by chains at ankles, knees, waist, chest, neck. An executioner mercifully tied gunpowder around her neck for quick death. Bishop Nicholas Shaxton, a recanted Protestant, preached for recantation. And corrected him mid-sermon, there he misses and speaks without the book. A pardon was offered, she refused. Flames lit, smoke rising before heat. The men screamed instantly, and prayed silently until fire reached her chest. Gunpowder exploded, ending her faster. Witnesses, including young Lady Jane Grey, noted her composure. Dutch merchants reported thunder at her death, seen as divine sign. The crowd dispersed, ashes swept, but Anne's silence echoed. At 25, she defied a king, saved a queen, and exposed cruelty. Her story asks, what's suffering for principle? Modern parallels in persecution remind us her horror remains relevant. Anne Askew's horrific path, forced marriage, exile, arrests, rack torture ended in flames, but her silence reshaped history. By not naming names, she thwarted Gardiner's plot, allowing Catherine Parr to survive and influence Edward VI's Protestant reign. Anne's writings immortalized her, becoming early female torture memoirs, fueling Reformation propaganda. Fox's inclusion made her a martyr icon, read for centuries. Her story critiques power, Tudor states brutality against ideas, especially from women. In a patriarchal era, Anne's intellect and defiance challenged norms, her naughty opinion a threat to male authority. Modern science underscores her feat rack causing overload few withstand, her faith or will prevailed. Questions linger, was her stubbornness heroic or futile? Could we endure? Her legacy warns of government overreach, echoing in today's religious conflicts. No grand monument at Smithfield, now bustling London, but her voice persists in texts, reminding us silence can thunder. Anne, mother of lost children, chose conscience over life, protecting others. Remember her not as victim, but victor over cruelty. If this tale gripped you, explore more hidden histories. What would you do on that rack? Share thoughts, her courage demands discussion.